Ron DeSantis, how do you deal with being bullied by the press, Mr. Ron DeSantis? How is your ingenious intelligence just too much for you to bear? Wait, it's work. We can access it. Let's see. Let's see. Is it going any better? It won't even let me. It won't even let me in. Details not available. I'm in. What? Is Elon just playing music? They're playing some background music. Elon is talking occasionally. What is this? What what is this? What a mess. What a mess, man. What a mess. Do we just leave? They've stopped talking. They're not doing anything. Like, that was Ron DeSantis's Twitter announcement. That was his announcement for on the campaign trail. Off to a great start to beat Donald Trump. Off to a fantastic start. I can't wait to see what Donald Trump says in reaction to this. Okay. Let's go watch the Twitter video. Let's go watch the Twitter video that Ron DeSantis is using to launch his presidential campaign. I think it's time we move on from this disaster of a launch and see what basic message he's trying to get across, since he can't seem to, get the words out. He's being a little mealy mouth. Let's check it out. I'm running for president to lead our great American comeback. Ron DeSantis. I'm sorry. I'm still baffled by this. I'm still baffled by this. How could they not get it to work for an hour? I said this exact thing yesterday, that it's probably going to crash and burn. It's not going to work. They're going to have a ton of technical issues. Then all the people, that nobody's going to get anything because he wanted to be hip and trendy. And well, look at the consequences of that. I know there's somebody on that campaign, at Ron DeSantis's little campaign that he has before he's hired all of his staff, that must have said during the meeting where they agreed to launch their campaign on the Twitter space, like, look, I understand wanting to be near Elon Musk. He's popular with our base. I understand wanting to, be hip and trendy, but maybe just go with a traditional campaign launch. We're going against Donald Trump. We're certainly not the front runner. I know we need to gain the momentum, but I think this might be too big of a risk. We need to play to the demographic on Fox. And no. We're going on Twitter. We're going on Twitter space. I don't care how much of their staff they slashed. Okay. I feel it was more about securing Musk's support because it would also give Twitter more legitimacy. I don't know if it gives Twitter more legitimacy. I mean, it brings more eyes to Twitter, but I don't know if the CEO of Twitter interviewing someone on the campaign trail, if he's not interviewing more than just Ron DeSantis, it doesn't look anything more than like Elon's giving him favoritism and using Twitter itself to do so. If this becomes a trend where the CEO of Twitter interviews like every major presidential candidate, that would be kind of cool. Or even if it's not the CEO of Twitter, because that could come with some conflict of interest, somebody interviews them in a Twitter space and they take unfiltered questions. I think that would be fantastic. I just doubt that's going to happen. Anyway, let's look at Ron DeSantis's campaign announcement, since with 493,000 people listening, nothing is going on in the Elon Musk Twitter space. Fantastic. What a great job Elon has done. Okay, let's watch. Let's see the campaign speech.
Our border is a disaster. Crime infests our cities. The federal government makes it harder for families to make ends meet, and the president flounders. But decline is a choice. Success is attainable, and freedom is worth fighting for. Righting the ship requires restoring sanity to our society, normalcy to our communities, and integrity to our institutions.
Okay, I'm sorry. I feel like I should be responding to his points, but the only thing I can think of as he's talking right now is that he sounds like a wooden plank. I'm not the only one who hears it, right?
Founders. But decline is a choice. Success is attainable, and freedom is worth fighting for. Righting the ship requires restoring sanity to our society.
Look, I wonder if all those people who complained about teleprompters at all has any ideas about Ron DeSantis. I'm sorry. Okay, let's continue.
Normalcy to our communities and integrity to our institutions. Truth must be our foundation, and common sense can no longer be an uncommon virtue. In Florida, we proved that it can be done. We chose facts over fear, education over indoctrination.
Didn't Ron DeSantis, I think he's saying facts over fear. I think that's a reference to COVID. Didn't Ron DeSantis also engage in some of the early on COVID lockdowns? I'm pretty sure he did as governor.
Law and order over rioting and disorder. We held the line when freedom hung in the balance. We showed that we can and must revitalize America. We need the courage to lead and the strength to win.
I'm sorry, I don't like the music. They should have chose a different music. The music is dominating his speech. I can make out what he's saying, but it's somewhat hard to hear.
I'm Ron DeSantis, and I'm running for president to lead our great American comeback.
The great American comeback. That's the angle, the great American comeback. Wait, the great American comeback? That's just make America great again. That's the same thing. It's the same thing. Wait, what the fuck? He's running against Donald Trump, but he's just trying to become discount Donald Trump, the great American comeback. How is this different than make America great again? There's no way nobody, when they were thinking about this being the tagline of the campaign, didn't think like, oh, this is just make America great again. This is literally make America great again. New space set up. Oh, snap. Okay. Oh, are they back? Wait, no. Play recording. Wait, is it a new space? Are they back? What? No, where is it? No, it's not. It's over. It's done. They quit. They quit. They quit the space. They quit. Dude, this is such a disaster. I'm sorry. This is a fucking mess. Oh, dude, this is embarrassing. I remember how much Obama got clowned on for this launch of Obamacare and how bad the website was. Just saying, this is the Obamacare of campaign launches. The link works. Oh my God. Oh my God. Joe Biden is dragging him. And by Joe Biden, I mean whatever staffer who works for him who thought of this line while, giggling to themselves, which is where it came from. But oof, still pretty funny. Still pretty funny. Oh my goodness. Oh, he's getting clowned on. Is that it? Are they really done? They just did no, so now his campaign announcement is literally just a Twitter ad. There's no launch, there's nothing. It's just a Twitter ad and what is this? A Twitter space recording 21 minutes of zero audio and elevator music. Are they done? Have they announced they're done? They're not going to do it?
A curd is a curd.
Patrick Pretzel's got a Tier 4 subscription. I'm a merchant seaman and I've worked on ships carrying materiel to Europe for Ukraine. If you want to know more about the maritime aspect, I'm down to talk SMTM.
I'm going to be honest. Thank you so much for your Tier 4 sub. That's really generous. We don't have a lot of Tier 4 subs. You've joined an elite group in the top of the caste system we developed here at Dylan Burns TV. I thought when you said you're a merchant seaman, I thought that you were going to I thought it was like the start of a joke. I thought it was the start of a joke, but I do appreciate the offer. And thank you for delivering the cheap goods that I buy from overseas. I appreciate it. Or the more important goods. I actually don't know what type of merchandise you carried. Okay, so obviously the Disney, as people are speculating in Gutter Chat right now, sabotaged Ron DeSantis's campaign launch. But now we have a general idea of the messaging that Ron DeSantis is going to go on, which is basically make America great again light. And hey, look, I made Florida awesome, which seems to be the two pillars of his campaign. But I want to bring up once again that even if Ron DeSantis is liked amongst a majority of Republicans, that doesn't mean that his image can sustain a concentrated attack from Donald Trump. Now the campaign and allies around Trump are already on the attack. Even before he announced his campaign 15 minutes ago by 1 minute Twitter clip after the Twitter space fell through, Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump's team, Donald Trump's supporters, Donald Trump's PACs that are supporting his campaign are already pumping out ads against Ron DeSantis to try to make him look like he's not a real Republican or he's weak on Republican issues. While a lot of the stuff they're going to attack each other on during the campaign trail, wokeness, maybe Ron DeSantis would go after Donald Trump for allowing a trans woman to participate in beauty pageants that he was in charge of. Obviously, I think that Donald Trump's going to go after Ron DeSantis for literally anything. We already saw Donald Trump earlier when Ron DeSantis was floating his name for president, going after him, trying to brand him as a pedophile for his relationship that he had with young students, him drinking with younger students. Obviously, there's no evidence of Ron DeSantis diddling kids. There's been no evidence brought forward, but that just shows that Donald Trump is going to steep low. And the people around him, while Donald Trump's getting in the mud, are going to try to some aspect, concentrate on policy. Maybe. This is just one ad. I don't know if it's a lot to go on, but it's going to be the more, we could say, like reeled in, less schizophrenic attacks on Ron DeSantis. So here's one example I'm going to show you guys of a political PAC supporting Trump, a political PAC going after Ron DeSantis and saying Trump should be the nominee, going after Ron DeSantis's record on sales taxes. So expect a lot of stuff like this in the next few months as these two campaign teams go back and forth.
Run the sales tax had a plan to make you pay more.
With the sales tax here
And the sales tax there.
Here a tax,
There a tax, everywhere a sales tax.
In Congress, Ron DeSantis backed a national sales tax, a 23% tax hike on almost everything you buy, from the gas station to the grocery store.
You'll pay more here.
pay more there.
Here you'll pay.
Okay, you get the idea. We don't need to watch the whole ad. This is the ad. The ad is EIEIO, Ron DeSantis is a communist. He's going to tax us all. Now, obviously, this ad was not the most favorable towards Ron DeSantis. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain this, but campaign ads are not always the most honest. Campaign ads will not all of the time focus on what is the most factually accurate or an honest interpretation, or at least a fair interpretation of the facts. Now, Ron DeSantis does support an increase in sale taxes, or he did support it at one point. But I believe it was leveraged on the idea that they would be cutting other taxes in reverse. Now, obviously, they're not including that information, but it makes sense that Ron DeSantis is going to be attacked for stuff like this, even if it's dishonestly by the Trump campaign, because that's how the Trump campaign operates. Also, I do think there is an honest attack on using the sales tax as the main means to raise revenue, considering that the sales tax is the tax that can also disproportionately affect working people. Because if a rich person buys some eggs and a poor person buys some eggs, they're taxed at the same rate. It isn't progressive in any of its nature. Like a extremely rich, wealthy man is going to be paying the same amount as somebody who's dirt poor for any number of, for example, grocery items. Putting that aside, this is the boring part of the campaign, which is Trump's campaign team, and how they're going to attack DeSantis, how they're going to try to make him look not conservative, how they're going to try to attack him in the normal campaign style to supplement Trump's more unhinged campaign style. Now, in the lead up to Ron DeSantis's failed campaign announcement, which I'm sure Rachel Maddow and MSNBC and even me, I'm having a lot of fun with it, if I'm honest. A lot of people are going to have a lot of fun with it. And I can't wait for what Donald Trump's going to say about it. But before the campaign was announced, Donald Trump had already launched a large amount of attacks. Oh, it's live? They brought it back? They brought it back? It's live again? Do you truly mean it? Is it actually live now? Oh my goodness. Do we have to keep trying this? I actually kind of just want to almost ignore it now. Like, you know, they had 30 minutes to get this right. It's running. It's back. Yes, Ron is speaking. Okay, come on. Come on, load. Ugh. Twitter. I love Twitter. I love thee. He's live on David Sachs? I thought it was on the Twitter space. Historic announcement crashes. True. Drew's right. Okay, come on, load. Load. Come on. Come on, work. Do I have to like say some magic spells? Do I need to encourage Twitter? Do I need to whisper sweet nothings into its ears? I don't want to have to watch somebody else's stream on YouTube just to like understand what's going on, but I feel like I might have to.
Policies that are hurting working people.
Okay,
we will reverse
here we are.
those policies, and we'll build an economy where working Americans can achieve a good standard of living. Biden's opened the southern border and allowed massive amounts of drugs to pour into the country. We'll shut.
Can somebody
down the
check how many
border.
people?
Didn't Joe Biden recently announce he was sending literal soldiers to the border? I don't know, man. If something's wide open, you usually don't send men with rifles.
Liberty can never happen again. Biden's allowed woke ideology to drive his agenda.
Woke.
We will never surrender to the woke mob.
Woke.
And we will leave woke
Somebody get
ideology.
that's 3 wokes.
Dustbin of history.
Dude,
In
that's
10
like
seconds.
2
Biden's also
XQCs.
politicized the military.
Dude, I'm so excited for how many times woke is going to be saying on this campaign. It's not going to get annoying at all.
Focus the military on the core mission, and we will reverse the poor recruiting trends. Finally, Biden's weaponized the power
How?
of the administrative state.
Just said he would.
to
How would he
advance
do
his
it?
left-wing agenda. We will reconstitutionalize the executive branch, and we'll bring the administrative state to heel. Now, you can't do any of that if you don't win. There is no substitute for victory. We must end the culture of losing that has infected the Republican Party in recent
And unless you ask Ron DeSantis about Ukraine, then maybe, actually victory is not as important and we can give them half the country.
years. The tired dogmas of
Unless, of course, a reporter asks me about it angrily, then I'll immediately flip-flop on my position. Sorry, I'm being verbose.
the past are inadequate for a vibrant future. We must look forward, not backwards. We need the courage to lead.
Forwards, not backwards. And twirling towards freedom.
And we must have the strength to win. And to voters who are participating in this primary process, my pledge to you is this. If you nominate me, you can set your clock to January 20th, 2025 at high noon, because on the west side of the U.S. Capitol, I will be taking the oath of office as the 47th President of the United States. No excuses. I will get the job done.
No excuses. He said it.
Me a new
He said it.
appreciation for the fragility of our freedoms.
No
I
excuses.
never thought I would see things in America that we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic. But our founding fathers were keenly aware of the fragility of freedom. When they framed our Constitution, they came armed with having studied the history of every republic and the history of mankind. And they noticed that all of those experiments only had one thing.
Well, I mean, they haven't. I mean, they did up to that point, but since then, it's been like 250 years. Or 300 years. Like, closer to 300 now.
Common, and it was this. Every single one of them had failed. And so they knew it fell to our country, the United States of America, to determine whether people could really govern themselves. Could we have a society based on the idea that our rights are God-given, not government-granted, and that society functions based on the rule of law, not the rule of individual men? And when Dr. Benjamin Franklin walked out of that convention, he was asked, did you deliver a republic or a monarchy? He said, a republic if you can keep it. They knew freedom didn't run on autopilot. They knew each generation would have a responsibility to safeguard freedom, and it's our responsibility to do so at this important juncture in our nation's history. We have a lot of work to do to ensure the country gets back on track. I ask everybody listening to please join me on this mission.
Everybody.
Please invest in our campaign by going to RonDeSantis.com.
No, he's
and
completely
making a
useless.
donation. Thank you. God bless, and I look forward to the discussion.
Okay, let's see the questions.
All right, thank you, Governor. Appreciate that.
Let's see the questions.
I guess just as a first follow-up here, thank you for
By the way, David Sachs, the person interviewing him, quote unquote, being the moderator here, big DeSantis supporter, worst takes on Ukraine you can imagine.
putting up with these technical issues. I think we're definitely breaking new ground here. As far as I know, no major presidential candidate has ever announced their candidacy. on social media this way, certainly in a Twitter.
Yeah, yeah, on fire, unable to work. Yeah, oh my gosh. It sucks for Joe Biden. He didn't announce his campaign in a fucking Discord call with the audio disconnecting, his voice going roboto from a bad connection. Oh no, sucks for him, man.
Space. So thank you for doing that.
How many concurrent viewers were there when AOC was playing Among Us?
Imagine if Trump during his January 6th speech, he's like, "We're gonna go to the Capitol." Oh, sorry, speech crashed. You gotta wait 30 minutes and just fucking stood there. There's a reason why this wasn't the best idea.
This way, as opposed to just doing it on cable news or the usual way.
Well, when COVID hit, I had to make decisions about, do you go with the crowd or do you look at the data yourself and cut against
a lot of people
the grain?
are giving different
and
answers.
I chose to do the latter. I faced huge blowback for doing that from the bureaucracy, from elites, from the media. But my view was I had to look out for the people I represented, prefer protecting their jobs over trying to safeguard my own political hide. But it was very, very lonely in a lot of those decisions. And part of the reason it was so lonely is because there was a concerted effort to try to stifle dissent. There was an official narrative about lockdowns, about closing schools, about forced masking, about all these different things that we had to navigate during COVID. And it was an orthodoxy being enforced by the major tech platforms in conjunction with the federal government. And if we can't have an honest debate in a free country about issues that affect hundreds of millions of people, like lockdown,
435K concurrent, and that was with a video stream, not audio.
Those are precisely the times when we needed to have debate be robust.
Dog Vosh is great and all, but God, I wish I could actually get into the Twitter space.
Bankrupt man.
Oh my God, come on. No, details not available. Can't do it.
And so when Elon Musk stepped up to purchase Twitter, he paid a lot of money for it. And I'm sure because he's a good businessman, Elon, I'm sure you'll end up making money off it. But bottom line is you had to put your money where your mouth is, because I think you recognize that you can't have a free society unless we have the freedom to debate the most important issues that are affecting our civilization. That did not happen during COVID. The truth was censored repeatedly.
Most important issues of our civilization. Dude couldn't go like 5 seconds, 10 seconds without saying woke 3 times in a row. The most important issues of our civilization: trans bathroom bills. The most important bills of our civilization: making sure there's no gays, no homosexual dialogue in the schools. The most important issues of our civilization.
And now that Twitter is in the hands of a free speech advocate, that would not be able to happen again on this Twitter platform. So I think what was done with Twitter is really significant for the future of our country. We cannot have a society in which government is colluding with major tech platforms to enforce an orthodoxy.
Well, thank you.
He says, as a presidential candidate
to
alongside Elon, insane.
And just a vigorous debate. And hopefully this can be a platform that brings people of divergent political views to exchange those views, and perhaps some minds will be changed one way or the other. And but it's just incredibly important, as you highlight, that the First Amendment is irrelevant if all the media and all the government are operating in lockstep. It makes the most important amendment, the one that was most urgently added to the Constitution, moot if you cannot have free and open debate. So Twitter was indeed expensive, but free speech is priceless.
Awesome. Thank you. So
you know what I can just do? I know how to solve this. Now there is no Vosh. Fixed.
Governor, I'm going to ask some questions while we get some other kind of speakers in the queue to ask questions. I think maybe some people knew this announcement was coming because there's been no shortage of hit pieces on you in the press over the last week or two. I want to...
Dude, come the fuck on. We're going to have an open discussion. We're going to take unfiltered questions. It's, we're not going to, we're not just servicing the image of Ron DeSantis and the host of it's like, all these hit pieces are being released on you. Everyone knew this was happening. Might as well just be asking, like, Ron DeSantis, how do you deal with being bullied by the press, Mr. Ron DeSantis? How is your ingenious intelligence just too much for you to bear?
I asked you about some of these accusations that are being leveled.
Pudding.
Dude, he's burying the question so hard here. There's all these hit pieces being released on you. Let me ask you some of the accusation. Why not just say there have been some people who claimed it has to be hit pieces. You gotta lead the question super hard. You gotta bury. You gotta like smear it in advance. You can't make it possibly seem like Ron DeSantis isn't getting confronted whatsoever because you want him to come back.
Last week, the NAACP issued a travel advisory against your state, claiming that Florida is not a safe place for minorities to visit. What do you say to those who've been advised that somehow they aren't welcome in your state?
Claiming that Florida is unsafe is a total farce. I mean, are you kidding me? You look at cities around this country, they are awash in crime. In Florida, our crime rate is at a 50-year low. If you look at the...
By the way, Florida also has cities that have crime. Just want to throw that out there.
top 25 cities for crime in America, Florida does not have a single one amongst the top 25. And if you look at cities like Baltimore and Chicago, you got kids more likely to get shot than to receive a first-class education. Yet I don't see the NAACP batting an eye about all the outrage and the carnage that's happening in those areas. So this is a political stunt. These left-wing groups have been doing it for many, many years. And at the end of the day,
Reboot Computer, thank you so much for the tier 1 and being sub for 22 months. By the way, I'm looking, somebody just tweeted something out and it reminded me. I think Vosh actually tweeted this out. Remember when AOC held 435,000 viewers in a video stream and it was just her playing Among Us? What is the viewership that Ron DeSantis is getting right now, announcing his 2024 campaign on Twitter Spaces after it, it crashed for the first 20 minutes?
What they're doing is colluding with legacy media to try to manufacture a narrative. Now, the good news is fewer and fewer Americans are gullible enough to believe this dribble. And platforms like Twitter are there where people can debunk these lies in real time. And I would just say,
they're colluding for sure.
If you are uncritically accepting narratives spun by legacy media and left-wing groups, you're failing at your job of being a conscientious citizen.
Why don't they ask him about the torture accusations, about him being involved with torture in Guantanamo? There's so many questions he could be asked, like legitimate questions that could challenge him, but they got to lead it. They got to call a hit piece in advance. Come on. Like the whole idea was unfiltered questions. It's it's a platform where anything could happen because the unwashed masses will come and ask questions. I want to see it.
I think people just see right through it. And oh, by the way, have any of these travel advisories, because they've been doing this for a while, all these left-wing groups, have any of them worked? Well, we're the #1 state for net in-migration and have been every year since I've been governor. We just capped the highest quarter for tourism in the history of the state of Florida. And our view is we want everybody to succeed regardless of their skin color. We don't divvy up people by race. At the same time, it is worth pointing out that we have in Florida more Black-owned businesses than any state in the nation.
Woke.
And we've also had more African Americans lead state agencies under my administration than at any time in Florida history. But with us, they're there because of merit, not because we're trying to play identity politics. And if you want to look at education, the Black students in Florida perform much higher than Black students in most other states. We rank #3 in 4th grade reading and #2 in 4th grade math amongst our Black student population. And oh, by the way, the head of the NAACP lives in Florida, and a lot of their board members have put out on social media during my governorship Florida vacations where they seem to be having an awful good time.
That's great. Well,
Florida has a higher crime rate than New York.
The people realize that some of the things that are being said are just truly absurd. I saw some headline from The Atlantic basically claiming that anyone who listens to this Spaces on Twitter is basically a Nazi.
That was The Atlantic.
Oh my God, why is he talking about this? Why would he talk about? He has somebody who could potentially become the next president of the United States. He advertises his Twitter space like this isn't your normal campaign launch. Ron DeSantis is a fighter. He can get down there, get in the mud. He can take the hard questions. And the first question is, why is everyone so mean to you in the press with these hit pieces? And they're saying these dastardly things about Florida. And the second question is, why are they calling us all Nazis? Man, this is fantastic.
God, he's live reading tweets. He interrupted the presidential candidate to respond to a tweet.
They were interviewing because David Duke wasn't available.
Oh, yes.
Although I'm not totally sure who they were saying was David Duke. I don't know if it was you or Governor DeSantis. It's sort of a little bit unclear. But
I think this is a function of the legacy media, these corporate journals. They're in their little bubble. And to draw allusions to stuff like that, I mean, how crazy do you have to be? But in their little bubble, it sounds like they're making some type of profound point. And so part of, I think, what Twitter is standing for is people should be exposed to different viewpoints. And I think the elites in our society have tried to cluster themselves.
Yes, exposed to new viewpoints. Anyway, Ron DeSantis, why do Democrats want to murder babies? That's a great question, Elon.
To where their assumptions are never challenged. And that's not a good way, I think, to live. It's also not a good way to be a critical thinker, because no one's ever going to question obviously wrong assumptions because everybody around you shares them.
Absolutely.
And I think they become totally hysterical because they don't like the idea that their control over the media is being, disintermediated.
Yeah.
Because now, candidates for president can just speak directly to people through platforms like Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, the amazing thing about Twitter,
if it doesn't crash,
spaces are that although I happen to be hosting it, I had to switch over to David hosting it because my account was actually
there's too much interest. But
my account was breaking the system.
There was too much interest.
But,
can you imagine saying that to the person who's come to your website to announce their campaign? I'm sorry that our stream crashed. Why? People wanted to watch it. Oh, okay. Yes, that seems like a perfectly reasonable reason for your service to crash when announcing a presidential campaign. You're announcing a presidential campaign on Twitter while saying he's going to be able to ask unfiltered questions. It's his first of its kind interview. No one's ever done this before, and you weren't prepared for a lot of people to come and watch? Come on.
There's really never been a mechanism before where someone could address the nation, or anyone who wanted to listen to them could, from anywhere in the world, United States or anywhere. So this is YouTube comment sections have existed for a very long time. Twitter, just the platform Twitter, has existed for a very long time.
Hell, I think people can do this in Discord chat rooms. I'm sorry. Let's continue.
Yes, this is a really profound change. And it's also like it's not just whether the media reports something and an article is true or not. Even more powerful is deciding what the narrative is. And so,
okay, somebody's saying that it's currently at 231,000 views. A reminder that AOC playing the video game Among Us was able to keep a sturdy 435,000 views. So they need to pump these numbers up.
It's just like, if there's only so much you can actually fit in a newspaper or a magazine, and there's only one thing you can really put on the cover of a magazine. So that whoever's deciding that is deciding to not talk about other things. Whereas with a public digital town square like we have here, it's possible.
Shut the fuck up. You're not running for president, Elon. It's DeSantis. Let him ask him questions. He's running for president. I assume he's somewhat busy.
For the public,
even for his own campaign launch. I mean, come on.
To choose the narrative. It empowers the people instead of a very tiny elite cabal, which I've never heard the irony
cabal.
Of that phrase. But
even he knows.
It's true, and you judge by the results that this is a means for the people to decide the narrative, and for the people to decide which way a debate will go, not sort of 5 editors-in-chiefs of a few newspapers, basically.
Yeah, and I think one of the really crazy things that happened during COVID is that social networks really started censoring dissenting viewpoints on COVID, medical viewpoints that ended up being totally correct in lockstep with what the mainstream media was doing. So
can you ask Ron DeSantis, the presidential candidate, question, please? Can I skip forward?
Jake a little bit.
Thank you, David. Yeah.
I know that during COVID, if you have a question for the governor.
Yeah, thank you, David. Yeah, I mean,
Okay, a question for the governor. Let's see. Come on, let's go.
It was an absolute honor to work with Governor DeSantis, and I was really impressed by his decision making in the face of an absolute firestorm of criticism.
Oh my God!
You know, Governor, you did the right thing when you opened the schools. And my kids in California for a year and a half didn't see the inside of a classroom, whereas Florida kids were in school. And you can see it in the results, and the learning loss numbers are so much better in Florida.
Unfiltered questions. What's your next unfiltered radical question for Ron DeSantis? Hello, Ron DeSantis. First, I want you to know that you're a swell guy, and all the decisions you made were really good and super fantastic. Come on, man. Look, if this was just a normal campaign launch, right, it'd be like, okay, whatever. But they advertise it as people are going to be able to come in, the unwashed masses are going to be able to come in and listen to Ron DeSantis answer their questions. And then all the questions are, I mean, maybe it'll change. Maybe somebody will come and be like, hello, Ron DeSantis, I want to talk to you about Guantanamo Bay. But it's a rough start.
I'm really curious, Governor. You know, as you're running for president, what are your thoughts about reforming, the public health authority in the United States and the federal government, the CDC, the FDA, the NIH? How do you?
By the way, the reason I'm giving Ron DeSantis such a hard time about this is you can't go around saying, oh, Joe Biden is afraid of journalists. Joe Biden is afraid to answer questions. Joe Biden is too stupid to answer any tough questions. He'd never sustain himself in a real confrontational environment. And then you advertise your campaign launch based upon the being able to talk to the people of America, answer the tough questions. And now it's just, I mean, I don't know if they pre-filtered these questions or not, but it certainly feels that way.
See the reforms we need so that the mistakes of the lockdowns that happened during the pandemic don't happen again when there's another pandemic?
Well, first, we need an honest reckoning about what happened during COVID. And the only honest reckoning is that all of those agencies, all of the elites, the public health establishment, they failed. They instituted bad policies. Obviously, it's a novel
He's more
virus,
boring than the
but I think
people
what
asking him
happened
questions.
was when the data was becoming more and more apparent that the path they were on was wrong, they doubled down and wanted to do it even more. And I really believe had Florida not just kind of stood in the way, I think this country would have had rolling lockdowns for probably a 2-year period. And so their impulses were authoritarian. They were not following the data. And I think the U.S. government needs to acknowledge the failures. And I think all of those agencies need to be cleaned out. What I saw just dealing with them was I saw a interest.
No, don't tell me the next person who's going to ask a question is Christopher Rufo, right-wing activist Christopher Rufo. Isn't he? Didn't Ron DeSantis specifically appoint Christopher Rufo to like a board at some college or something? Like, Christopher Rufo is come on, look, he said the unfiltered masses. There's Nate Silver right there, right? I know there's people I can see right now that could, maybe ask like a tough question. Actually, please tell me the next person isn't actually Christopher Rufo. It's literally all sycophants
in the narrative and in politics over evidence-based reasoning and evidence-based medicine. And so I don't have confidence that those agencies are up to the task. And I think you need major overhaul of the whole enchilada with respect to public health in this country.
Can I follow up with that? I mean, I think the
oh my God,
other
Christopher
thing that I saw during the
Rufo
pandemic,
is a
Governor,
speaker.
You was subject to it just as much as I was when we were talking about COVID. YouTube censored a video of us.
Okay, YouTube censorship, yada yada yada. Can we move on to the next person? Like, can we get to something that's actually interesting? Like, I hate to be mean, but like this is ridiculous.
Company, you.
If this was just like a press conference, it'd be one thing, but it isn't.
Let me pull in. We have Congressman Thomas Massey.
Oh, great! A Republican congressman. That likes Ron DeSantis. Wow, tough questions.
If you're there, go ahead and
not that
yourself.
many.
I mean, what we're talking about here is, I think, really unconstitutional actions by federal agencies. Congressman Massey, I know that you've been involved in this problem of government agencies being weaponized and used against the American people in an inappropriate way. Do you have a comment on this? And do you have a question for Governor DeSantis?
Well, first of all, let me say a big thank you to Elon Musk for buying Twitter and exposing all of this. On our weaponization committee, we wouldn't know so much of it if he hadn't done this, almost as a public service to the First Amendment.
Yeah, that Matt Taibbi situation lasted great. Come on, can we get to the actual, like...
My question to you is, you served here in Congress for 6 years with me, and why is it that Congress is so feckless at reining in these government agencies, and what do you think we need to do? And if you were president, what would you urge Congress, or what bills would you like to see and sign to rein in this, sort of overreach of government bureaucracy?
Well, first, I think there's a lot that the executive branch can do, and all I will say when it comes to these agencies, we'll go into this a little bit more as the campaign goes on. But buckle up when I get in there, because the status quo is not acceptable, and we are going to make sure that we reconstitutionalize this government. And
the Guantanamo Bay guy really cares about authoritarianism from the government.
Agencies are totally out of control. There's no accountability, and we are going to bring that in a very big way. Now, part of the reason it's gotten so bad, power's been consolidated in effectively a fourth branch of government because Congress hasn't used its two main powers that it has under the Constitution. First, the power of the purse. If an agency is gauging in conduct that is outside the realm of what is legal, or you think it's not good for the public interest, then you can remove the funding for those operations. There's nothing that they're not entitled to get the same level of funding every year, and yet Congress runs the government on.
Isn't him trying something like this with Disney, like leading to Disney like pulling out tons of business? Is he going to do something similar in the United States generally? Just scare a bunch of companies away. You're not homophobic enough. Get out. I'm sorry. Dude, can we get the actual question? I'm sorry. Can we get to something that's actually interesting? Like the only reason I'm watching this, right? If it was just a Ron DeSantis campaign press conference, I wouldn't be watching it. The reason I'm watching it, when Ron DeSantis isn't Donald Trump, at least Donald Trump is somewhat interesting and entertaining, is because we were supposed to find out we were supposed to see Ron DeSantis get challenged. So come on, anything like an actual challenge.
Budget cutting initiative. Regardless of why they did it, why do you feel your fight with Disney remains important, considering you already beat them on the parental rights bill that they opposed? And what would you say to some of your opponents in this race who argue that the fight has dragged on too long?
So first of all, Florida stands for the protection.
That's going to be the most pushback he's gotten. It's going to be like, some of your critics think that you're fighting Disney too hard. Stop bringing up job loss. Come on. It'd be like if the escalator had just stopped halfway down. That's true. That's true.
Children, we believe jamming gender ideology in elementary school is wrong. Disney obviously supported injecting gender ideology in elementary school. They did oppose our parents' rights legislation.
They wanted to make all the kids gay.
When they opposed it, that was a big deal because for 50 years, anytime Disney wanted something in Florida politics, they pretty much got it. But not this time. I signed the bill. We did, as you say, win on the issue. But
sorry, a rapist was talking, and my Blizzard app just opened on its own.
That their executives were making, kind of the corporate culture had really been outed as trying to inject matters of sex into the programming for the youth. And I think a lot of parents, including me, look at that and say,
yo, can I be for real? I don't know if I want to watch this anymore. Is there anything else to this?
And, they have a fiduciary duty to do what's best for their shareholders if they were in better financial shape. And they.
Oh, my God. This is boring. This sucks. This sucks. The whole point of doing this on social media is so you could prove that you're like a tested candidate. Like you can, you'll answer the public's questions, and it's all through a supporter of him, David Sachs, or all unbelievably softballed, or the punches that are being thrown are like covered with so many pillows you can't even feel it.
Closed. I think they were closed for over a year. out in California. So we were, I think, a much better place to be doing business, certainly since I've been governor.
Great. Let me shift gears here to the
Okay.
topic of education. I want to pull Chris Rufo into the conversation. I know
It
he's
is.
with you on some
It is
initiatives.
Chris Rufo.
I think, one other thing
Oh my
that
God.
the mainstream media has, I think, bashed on is they've kind of started promoting this narrative that you want to ban books from school libraries. You
Holy
refuse
shit.
to teach kids about slavery.
This is literally just so a bunch of dick suckers can throw softballs where he responds to like all the terrible things. Like, this is so cucked.
Wow, over 271,000 people. So this is, I think, totally unprecedented in terms of the numbers of people we have participating. By the way, I think Twitter's working much better now. I think it crashed because when you multiply 500,000 people in a room by an account with over...
I feel a lot like I remember when I interviewed the right sector guy, I had this tiny little fear in my stomach that like I didn't go hard enough in the interview when I was asking about like violence that right sector was involved in during Kiev Pride and other stuff like that. But now after watching this, I did fine. Knowing how bad it can get, I think I did an okay job.
Tweeted above a certain size, it would crash the servers.
Yeah.
And then anyone else who was tweeting at the same time would lose their tweet as well.
So in any event, yeah. Well, we're breaking new ground here.
We're scaling issues.
Yes, you're breaking new ground when there are bugs and scaling issues. But in any event,
Just imagine if there were issues with like...
Dude, can you imagine that? Could you imagine that when No Man's Sky first released and they had all those bugs, all those glitches, if all they did was respond to it with like, well, we're breaking new ground. Fallout 76, well, the more bugs your game has, the more ambitious it is. God, what a piss poor excuse.
Right, you can go buy or use whatever book you want. What we have done is empowered parents with the ability to review the curriculum, to know what books are being used in school, and then to ensure that those books match state standards and are age and developmentally appropriate. So, for example, parents have flagged books in schools that, for example, teach middle school kids how to use sex apps, that provide graphic depictions of sex acts and sex toys for people as young as 5th grade. And so clearly that is not appropriate to be in a middle school classroom. And so parents object and the schools take them out. I did a press conference that we called Exposing the Book Ban Hoax. And before I had the parents come up, before I spoke, I just played the video that had the images of the books that the parents had objected being in their kids' classroom. And the local news had to cut the feed because they said it was too graphic. Well, if it's too graphic for the 6 o'clock news, how is it okay for a 6th grader?
Dude, Mehdi Hassan is right there. He's a journalist, MSNBC. Just grab him, put him up there. Like an actual, like somebody who would actually have a, maybe aggressive or controversial or, confrontational questions for Ron DeSantis. Not Christopher Rufo, who has worked with people like Ron DeSantis, and I believe actually directly worked with Ron DeSantis in the past, just like the person before him, the congressman, just like the person before that. It's all people who have directly worked with and or friends with or work for Ron DeSantis, all managed by David Sachs, somebody who supports Ron DeSantis. I mean, the whole pitch for this was completely nothing but a false advertisement. This is nothing more than a bunch of people sucking Ron DeSantis's toes for an hour.
All of those subjects, from slavery, Reconstruction, segregation, all of that to be taught, and will continue to do that. So I think what you see is the left and the media colluding on this. They don't want to actually defend what it is that we are actually legislating or regulating. So they create these hoaxes that somehow you don't want kids to learn that slavery existed in America, which is preposterous. No one actually defends the offending material. And the question is why are there people intent on trying to get this stuff into the classroom? And I think it's part of a political agenda. So our mantra,
political agenda.
The purpose of the schools is education, not indoctrination. Yes, I think it's very inappropriate to have sexually explicit material in a 5th grade library, 100%. But it's also the case that if you're focusing on that type of instruction, there's an opportunity cost involved. Why shouldn't we be doing more on science or reading or math? And so I think we're getting it right. And I think
Blue
almost
Rider of Neptune gave Dark Death 999 a Tier 1 subscription. There are no books in schools now. I live in Florida. The libraries are empty now. Ron didn't just ban books, he disintegrated them.
He burned them all. He burned them all and outside in the fire pit.
I was actually under the impression that
Doesn't this have the exact vibe of those Discord interviews that I've done, where the main guy interviews me with questions that are submitted by other people? Except this is less charismatic and sounds worse audio-wise.
From, I think, like Biden's inauguration, and they moved it from elementary school library to middle school library. The media tried to act like somehow this is being banned, and you actually had...
Look, how can DeSantis run the country if he can't even run his own campaign launch? Something to think about.
It was basically just determined that this particular book was better suited for middle school. And so they put it in the middle school media center. And the media tries to act like somehow that is offending something with a book ban. So, but I think part of the reason that they're doing that is because, there is actually a movement to ban books from like Amazon and some of these others. California, some municipalities have banned things like To Kill a Mockingbird. What they're trying to do is see if some of these books pass a woke test. And if they don't, they are going against some of those books. Whereas in Florida, you can buy whatever book you want. But that's a different question than what would be appropriate for a third grader or what would be appropriate for a sixth grader. Government, by definition, has to make those choices about what type of curriculum we want to put in front of our students. And the parents obviously have an important voice in that.
Absolutely. Well, in fact, a friend of mine, Tim Urban, who has a blog called Wait But Wine, is really one of the most reasonable people on earth and one of the most reasoned people I've ever met. Had a lot of trouble actually publishing his book.
One more and I'm done. One more question and I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Sort of sacred cows of woke ideology.
Woke. Anybody keeping a track? How many woke?
That is the
how many times I said woke?
Banning and de facto book suppression.
I love it
that
here.
I see quite a lot of is that the publishers are unwilling to take risks.
Let me shift gears here for a second because I know we're running out of time. We're supposed to end, I think, around 4. But
if Ron DeSantis wins the election now, we deserve everything that comes with it.
For Pacific, but thank you for giving us a little bit of extra time here, Governor. Shifting gears to a major federal issue, immigration. We see I've seen these videos on social media and on TV of what looks like just insanity at the border. What is your take on what's going on there, and how would you address that as president?
Well, I'd reverse what Biden's doing.
Literally not a single difficult question from anybody who doesn't love and or actively want to have sex with Ron DeSantis. Actual mess. You know what? I'm going to throw some controversy Ron DeSantis' way. Since Elon couldn't do it, since David Sachs couldn't do it, since Twitter.com couldn't do it, even though they easily could have done it. Instead, how about I bring forward some statements from somebody who doesn't like Ron DeSantis, who has been messaging about him online all day, Donald Trump. These are the 3 messages that that Donald Trump posted about Ron DeSantis today in the lead up to his announcement. Actually, there was more, but it was literally just him yelling election interference. So this is, something we can more analyze. So let's go through 3 of these posts and just see the type of mood Donald Trump is in and how he's probably not going to be holding back very much. Look, Rob DeSanctimonious came to me asking for help. He was losing badly by 31 points to popular agricultural commissioner Adam Putnam. He was getting ready to drop out of the race, ran a terrible campaign. Ron told me he had one last chance, my support and endorsement, which Putnam and everyone else wanted also. I gave it to Ron, and the race was over. And one day, he went from losing badly to winning by a lot. With 3 large Trump rallies, he won the general election in an upset. Disloyal! ! Now, while obviously this is not how politics works, you endorse somebody once, therefore you can't ever run against them in the future. Obviously, that's not how democracy works. But he's not wrong that without Donald Trump, there's a good question. Oh, you can't even see all of the message here. I didn't have it all on screen. Oopsie days. Oopsie doopsie. He's not wrong about the fact that his endorsement to him was a gigantic contributor to his victory. In fact, Ron DeSantis barely beat Andrew Gillum in the 2018 Florida gubernatorial election in the general. He barely beat Andrew Gillum. And there are many people who believe that without Donald Trump's endorsement and his campaigning for him and him getting out the vote, that there would not have been enough energy to beat Andrew Gillum, who was who had the best shot of being of continuing the Democrats' blue legacy in Florida, which has crashed and burned since Ron DeSantis has gotten into office. Next, truth, not a tweet, but a truth that Donald Trump posted from his Truth Social media site that he made after getting banned from Twitter. Ron DeSantis, so now he's shortened it from Ron DeSanctimonious to Ron DeSantis, can't win the general election or get the nomination because he voted to obliterate Social Security, even wanting to raise the minimum age to 70 or more. Voted badly, wound Medicare. Wait, what? Voted badly, wound Medicare. Did Donald Trump just do baby speak? This is voted badly, wound Medicare. Okay. Donald Trump is confirmed furry and fought hard and voted for a 23% tax on everything sales tax, all in capital letters. He was and is a disciple of horrible rhino Paul Ryan and others too many to mention. Also, he desperately needs a personality transplant. That's true. And to the best of my knowledge, they are not medically available yet. A disloyal person. This is the second time that he was called disloyal. Now let's look at the last post that Donald Trump made about Ron DeSantis before his campaign launch. Also, has anybody checked? I'm in Ukraine, so I can't check because it's not available here. But can anybody go check Donald Trump's Truth Social account to see if he's made any interesting posts since Ron DeSantis's disaster, and that's all we can call it, disaster of a campaign launch? I built the greatest economy in the history of the world. That's a good opening line from Donald Trump. No inflation, energy independence, and soon dominance. The strongest border ever. Record best employment numbers, biggest tax and regulation cuts, rebuilt our military. I always love the line from Donald Trump, rebuilt our military, because it makes me imagine that like when Obama was leaving office, it was just like all hollowed out and decrepit drones. Like, oh no, we had been starving the military with only $700 billion worth of a military budget. They were starved. Destroyed, just wrecked until Donald Trump came and gave him another 50 billion. That extra 50 billion, it really had a gigantic impact, and we completely revamped. No wars with Russia and or Ukraine or China and or Taiwan or anywhere. Could you imagine? By the way, we don't have a war between China and Taiwan. I don't know why he's claiming that. We had tension during his administration about Taiwan, and we have tension about Taiwan during Biden's administration. But I've talked about the problem a million different times on my channel with the idea that, oh, Donald Trump would have stopped the war in Ukraine. Donald Trump is not an experienced diplomat. He does not know how to manage American relations on the world stage. And the idea that him being a madman or unpredictable would stop the invasion doesn't make much sense, since Vladimir Putin expected the invasion to be over in a week. And unless we were directly going to deploy troops on the ground, which Donald Trump had showed his obvious opposition to through withholding aid to Ukraine in return for favors, if he wasn't even willing to greenlight the already congressionally approved aid to Ukraine without, public scandal, then it isn't that surprising that he probably wouldn't want to put troops on the ground. But in the amount of time it would be necessary for America to mount a cohesive response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, definitely through Putin's thinking in response to the 2014 Crimean invasion, which came with very little American response, Putin expected to take over the country in a week. There's no way Donald Trump would have been able to get Ukrainian troops, the equipment he would have thought necessary to stop a Russian invasion in that period of time. Definitely considering Donald Trump's previous opposition to sending the aid in the first place, outside of, the strong arming he tried to do to Zelensky in order to get dirt on his political opponent. So I don't really think he is somebody to talk about this. But something that is interesting is, could you imagine Herbert Hoover when he like out of office as FDR's fighting the Nazis and the Japanese, saying, "No war with Germany under my watch. I never had to find the Japanese people in Okinawa. I didn't even know where Okinawa was until until this war happened." My goodness, it wouldn't make much sense, because people would say, well, obviously the problem of German aggression and Japanese aggression got worse under FDR's term, which would be the same thing I could say about Russian aggression in Ukraine under Biden's term. And so unless somebody can make a cohesive argument for why Donald Trump would be able to dissuade the invasion, I take everything he says about Russia and Ukraine with a gigantic grain of salt. Sorry, went on a little tangent there. Let's continue. And the USA was respected all over the world. Check America's approval rating from the Obama to the Trump administration. Check how it dips. Check how the world and the people of the world and of different nations around the world view Donald Trump in comparison to, say, Barack Obama. Anyway, and he ends with, what else can I say? Not much. Anyway, Donald Trump is a mudslinger, and he's already started slinging mud before Ron DeSantis even announced he was going to be running. The question is now, can Ron DeSantis put up with the aggression and the mudslinging of Donald Trump on the campaign trail? Many people thought they could. Carly Fiorina, Jeb Bush, Rand Paul, Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, Chris Christie, so many, John Kasich, so many people thought they could put up with it, and they were all wrong. Little Marco Rubio, all these different people thought they could put up with it, and they were all dead wrong. And so I don't know if Ron DeSantis can put up with it. And this disaster of a campaign launch has not changed my mind, and I don't think he can put up with it. I think he's heading for a disaster of a primary election campaign. Okay, I think that's it. There's nothing else to really be said about this campaign launch. I will say one last thing. This meme from Joe Biden, very funny. Man, look at all those likes. Oof. Jumping right out of the gate, getting dunked on by Joe Biden. Not a good start to the Republican primary for Ron DeSantis.